Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Clovis Municipal Schools Board meeting. Will the clerk please call roll?
Yes, sir. President Cordova,
Here.
Vice President Hamilton,
Here.
Secretary Martin,
Here.
Member Osborne,
Here.
Member Egbert.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Miss Cindy, would you lead us in the pledge?
You all stand? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you. All right, we'll move down to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Osborne, a second by Mr. Hamilton. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And now we have a consideration and approval of the minutes from 10/28/25.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Edwards, a second by Mr. Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Also have a consideration and approval of the minutes for 11/5/25.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I
Have-
second.
Have a motion by Mr. Hamilton, a second by Ms. Osborne. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now we'll move down to the consent agenda. Are there any questions?
No,
From the
I didn't
board?
know
No, sir.
questions. No questions.
If there aren't any questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, have a
I second.
motion by Mr. Martin, second by Ms. Edberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Approve. Okay. Motion carries. Now we'll move down to the superintendent's report. Ms. Russ? Thank you.
Give us your update.
Make sure I didn't sit here wrong now.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. President, Board and Superintendent. I don't have a whole lot. You've got some amazing people here, so I don't want to stand in their way. But we're excited to be back. I feel like this is a little bit of a norm now with everybody back. We're just working hard, rescheduling tutos, rescheduling a ton of field trips. And then I reached out to all of our squadron adoptions and we're getting back some feedback of what they're doing at the schools, what's happening, and they seem like they're doing some amazing service projects. So really excited. We're gonna collaborate all that together and then we're gonna brief it to them. Let them know all the great stuff that's happening. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see that we have student representatives this summer, so you know.
Don't have anything except for the celebration recognition that we'll do here, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will start with Director Martin, celebrate our choir. And then forward.
Good evening, President Cordova, Superintendent Russ, and members of the board. I'm James Golden, Assistant Director of Choir at the high school. We brought a handful of students tonight that are going to fill you in on some of the really neat things that we've accomplished and have been doing thus far this semester, especially having CHSFA on campus with us at the high school. It's been really, really awesome to have more classes, more opportunities for these kids. So I'm going to turn it over to them and they're going to fill you in on some really great stuff that's been going on.
Good evening. I'm Peyton Bass. I am a member of the chamber choir and the men's choir, and I'm going to be talking about the ENMU Men's Fest that we had back in September. There were 28 of us, all went through well, and that's the day where we go over to ENMU. We get our music and we practice throughout the day, and we just show off what we can learn all within that time span. It's a very fun bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Olivia Sinfas. I'm in the chamber choir and the women's select choir. This year at the SEN MMA solo and ensemble, it was held on October 3rd. 47 of us got first division soloists. 12 were granted the second division soloists. 5 students were chosen to be outstanding soloists. There were 5 first division ensembles 34 total members. 3 out of the 5 are selected to be outstanding ensembles.
Awesome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mario Salgado Heroes, and today I'm from the CHS Chamber Choir. And today I'll be talking about the third annual CMS Men's Day event hosted by CHS Choir. So this event includes all young men from 6th grade all the way to 12th grade. Wow. And so basically it's from the 6th grade academy, Gaddis in Yucca Middle School and Clovis High School. We do a men's workshop for the event we have at the end of the school year. That's called All Choral Night. And all the students that came, there were 127 young men working together in music for CHS Choir for the All Choral Night. We started at 9 a.m. through 1 p.m. and we just learned a lot of vocal techniques, learning of 2-minute selections, and that the All Choral Night concert will be in May. Team building games and enjoy lunch together, provided by the CHS cafeteria staff. So we thank them very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Seth Baldock. I'm the NFL at Clovis High School, and I get to talk to you guys about our honor choir coming up. This Friday, we're going to load the bus with 71 students from Yucca Middle School, Gaddis Middle School, and the high school at 5 in the morning and go to Hobbs to perform with other district honor choir students. Broken down our members and our numbers. Yucca we are taking 23, Gaddis is taking 24, and the freshman academy is taking also 24. So we have good spread throughout all 3 schools, and we're super excited for that.
Great. Thank you.
I'm coming up in the middle. I'm Tammy Martin, the head director, and I want to share with you our results from our first all-state process. This is the large choirs that we go and perform in. So we did the auditions. We had 41 students that actually auditioned. We actually had 27 that made the all-state choir from Clovis. We were the 3rd largest number in the state in the choirs. So we're excited about that. The cool thing about this is that we had 24 of those 27 make the top choir, mixed choir, and then we have the treble choir that follows. We had 3 of the students that made that. The really neat thing is the data behind that. 66% of our auditioners made the choir. That is a phenomenal rate. The other thing is that we had the largest per capita that made it make the mixed choir of any school in the state. So we are excited for that, and that is coming up in January the 14th through the 17th. So we'll be excited to go to Albuquerque and share that information with the kids and get them going and singing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again. Aside from cool things our students are doing, I'm going to brag on myself and Miss Martin just a little bit, because we have the opportunity this year to present a clinic at the All-State Conference. So while the students are in rehearsals and such, all of the directors, we're in continuing education courses, essentially, continuing to hone our craft. This year, we've decided as a state that we've unified our sight reading. That's part of our assessment stuff that happens in the spring. And we're going to this unified protocol that every district in the state is going to follow. This is a protocol that Southeast District has been doing for years and years and years. And we've been very successful at the certain way that we do that. So this year, Ms. Martin and I are actually going to be presenting a clinic on sight reading, how to prepare your students, how to make them be more successful, how to give them that better educational aspect as it relates to singing. And we'll also be pulling those students, because we're going to be doing a live demonstration choir for every choir director in the state of New Mexico that will be in attendance at that event. We are going to go through that process with these students who have made it into the All-State Ensemble, which is actually something that I've taught for 14 years, have been going to All-State for probably 20 or 22 years, and I've never seen a demonstration choir or anything like that. So it's something really new and exciting that we are very excited that Clovis gets to be the one that gets to do for everybody, so that we can just help, right? Help everybody be better for their students in their own classrooms. So we're very excited about that opportunity this year as well.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Isabella Cordova, and this year was the first year Clovis ever got to participate in New Mexico Vocal Jazz All-State. We had 7 students audition. We had 2 that were selected, Samantha Lee and myself. And we also have 2 alternatives, DeMarcus Williams and Joaquin Wheeler, who's standing back here. Yeah, we're just really excited. It will be the week after regular Vocal All-State. The 22nd. The 22nd through the 24th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amaya Thomas. I'm in both the chamber choir and women's select choir. I'm here to talk to you about the events that we have been going on and future events that we will be doing for both the women's select choir and chamber choir. The first one is the Lowe's Veterans Day event. We went about 2 weeks ago to sing the national anthem. The Clovis Community Clovis Community College Veterans Day event, which we also sang the national anthem for. The Curry County Retired Educators Association Christmas Luncheon. The Rotary Club Christmas Luncheon. Cannon Air Force Base Christmas Parade and Tree Lighting Ceremony. And the 2 days of our elementary Christmas tour, where we go to every elementary school in the district to sing to them and basically hang out and show them what our skills are all about.
Hello, my name is Joaquin Wheeler. Thanks for that. Busy. So we'll be holding our annual winter Christmas concert, December 11th, 7 p.m. at the First Methodist Church, and we'll invite everyone to come. It is free, and we really like to show off how much we've practiced and how much we've moved over the course of the years as choirs. Yeah, just extend our invitation to all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity to come and share all of our events that's happened in that are going to happen, because we don't get to talk to you for a long time after this. So thank you so very much. And if you have any questions, stand here to answer any.
We're just so proud of all that you've done and all that you continue to do. So keep at it. We're waiting to hear. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great job, y'all.
If you wanted to stay at the podium, our next item is to consider travel for the choir that is slated for April 25th. To compete in the American Classics Music Festival. And as always, you can see that Director Martin puts together a pretty tight schedule to make the most of their time. They go, they come here, they come home. So if you have questions about this travel, here she is to answer those questions for you.
Are there any questions from the board?
No, sir.
That it's a tight schedule, so good job.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Edberg,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Hamilton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good looking Dallas.
Yay.
Thank you
Have
so
fun.
very much. We're
Yeah.
excited. Appreciate it very much. All this evening.
All right, next I'd like to invite Mr. Brady.
Oh,
We have.
excuse me.
Oh,
Hold on.
sorry.
Before you dismiss, I would like to dismiss all the kids at one time because we have, so if you don't mind, please stay in for just a little bit longer. Thank you.
Come on.
President Cordova, members of the board, Superintendent Russ, exciting stuff, the spirit of competition, the ability to win, defeat their opponents. Hobbs, Clovis volleyball was probably the single coolest gym I've been in 10 years. And our girls showed up, showed out, and just flat stomped them into the ground. Volleyball girls, congratulations. Well, Coach Williams and I would like to recognize Coach Hill and her Lady Wildcat volleyball players for the hard work and their achievement of being district champs the first time in
Since 2020.
since 2020. And so they brought home the district championship. This is the first time that we're gonna unfurl the banner. that these we've got some youth, we're young and we're loaded and we're ready to come back and do it again next year, right, ladies? I'll let Mrs. Hill have a few words.
If the girls would come up here and stand, and the coaches. So we have Maddie, Christy, Lily, Brent, Kiara, Daisy, Amor, Sophie, Ellie, Ashlyn, Skylar, Ellie, two Ellies. Avery, Coach K, and Coach Carissa. So we started way back on July 1st. We had our first play day. We finished our season on Friday in Albuquerque. These girls showed up every day, worked hard. Coach Pickett would be in the gym and we would talk and he would be like, I wish my boys would be as loud as those girls out there. So I'm super proud of them. They have good grades. The hardest week for us is we go to Carlsbad on a Tuesday night. We got home at 1. We have first period volleyball. We got up, went to practice. We go to Hobbs on Thursday.
Oh, wow.
And then we had practice on Friday morning. So when people say student athletes, they're the real deal. Student athletes are the real deal because when everybody else is nice, tucked in bed, asleep, we are on a bus heading home from Carlsbad at 1 a.m. and get up and do it all over again. So I am so super proud of these girls and their hard work and their dedication and their commitment to volleyball. Also, I'm gonna give them a shout out because they are running the Little Kids Youth Program and I hear nothing but incredible things. I have watched it. I might be a little biased, but they have worked hard and I just see volleyball growing and growing and growing. And that's to a lot of their hard work and dedication on Saturday mornings after we've been playing all week and having games. So they love volleyball, they're committed to it, and they're incredible student athletes.
Good job, ladies.
Right.
Want to add quick thing, well, quick but important, Coach Christy Hill is also the district coach of the year this year, so.
Well, can I say something before the girls, the ladies are dismissed to go back to the seat? I saw somewhere where you have, what, 3 freshmen? Or 4 freshmen?
Wow.
Wow. Ellie, is that you? I know Ellie, I remember Ellie, yeah. Ellie was 5 when I coached her in soccer. I can't, I don't mean to embarrass you, but wow. Well, congratulations, girls.
Yes, congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, this is a busy lady. I'm not gonna give you all her titles, but I am gonna tell you that she has grown cross-country from middle school up to the high school level. Total participation numbers off the top of your head. 91 kids. 7 to 12 running and district champs this year. Outstanding. Our young ladies did a great job. Our boys showed up at state. I'll turn it over to Coach Ledesma and let her give you a little update.
I couldn't carry all my banners. We have 3 now. So,
Good job.
and I request them to be hung. So once I don't have them, I would have brought them. But my ladies are back here, if they could come up. I have Brooke, Rosie, Jelena, Yuretsi, Jaya, Dariana, and Coach Corrado. I don't think people realize how much work we put in. We start June 1st practicing and they run about 500 miles in the season. We wake up as high school, they wake up at 5 in the morning to train by 6. And they beat everybody. I think the record is like over 100 teams this year when they ran. They were ranked 2nd in the state. We had 3 or 4 in the top 20 of the state. So when I tell you these girls work, they work. And our boys did too. but I'm very proud. They're amazing. A lot of them are early college students. Some of them are multi-sport, some of them play band. And so cross country has just been a true pleasure to coach, and especially with these type of ladies and gentlemen, but it's just an honor to have them.
Congratulations. Good job.
How many activities do you do? Because I see you running everywhere. Yeah, with the schools, you did wrestling, right?
Wrestling, cross country, track, once upon a time soccer.
Wow,
Oh, and I'm the athletic coordinator at Yucca.
wow. Well, thank you.
Thank you for all
Thank
you
you,
do.
ladies.
She's all 10. She's all
Yes.
Take a moment to allow everybody that.
No,
needs
one
to-
more
hold
thing
on,
and then,
One more. Okay.
Yeah,
one
one
more.
more.
one more and they can go.
Yeah, typically we would release our students right now, but I think as we talk about the next topic, I think that for a couple of reasons, it's really important for our students to hear this conversation because you will be voters one day. But secondly, because what we're about to talk.
Have your number, so I sent you an email. I ended up getting strep throat.
Or somebody else can cover this, that'd be great. I think it'd be great for you to hear it because it would directly potentially impact you. So our next item, I'm gonna start by just giving a little bit of a recap of our general election on November 4th. And we do want to express appreciation to all of those who did get out and vote. And I also want to really take a minute to recognize some of our personnel, first and foremost, who put together the promotion.
Hey, Fred.
Well, I think that's Art. Hang on, Art, we'll give you a turn. Who put together the materials and really took the lead with the campaign and had a lot of presentations. And so I want to thank Sarah Brooks, who is our behind the scenes person who manages our social media and all of our public relations. The materials that she created were amazing. Mr. Kevin Summers, who's new to the district, but has incredible ideas and experience, paired with Mr. Brady. They were out pounding the pavement and spreading that word. And then also, especially behind the scenes, is Matt Wolf, who runs a lot of our audio visual and helped with the video that was produced. But I also want to thank our community leaders who were a part of that lengthy emotional video, who really voiced what it was about, particularly the Geo Bond. And I think that was a great collaboration with community members. And so we want to thank them, along with civic and community organizations that let us come in their ear and share information with them. So the outcome of the election has presented a really significant opportunity. Director Martin, I think now we may be able to have a projector in the choir room. That was one of the things that Tammy talked about in her portion of the video. But it also presents a challenge. So I want to start first talking about the opportunity. So we are incredibly thrilled that the general obligation bond passed. That was a huge $20 million bond for local funding, which is going to leverage $60 million to start the first phase of the renovation at the high school, which will deeply impact that campus, which has some of our oldest buildings, will be impactful for freshman academy staff and students as well. And this is a really long overdue modernization that needs to happen at that campus. So we are appreciative for that positive affirmative vote. Our significant challenge comes with the Capital Improvements Act tax. I gotta show you something. Because I stumble over that, Mr. Summers made me a visual to help me. So if you need to remember, I can show you the pictures. Capital Improvement Act tax. This has been in place in New Mexico for the last 50 years. And I want to give you some background about what the differences are between the bond and the Capital Improvement Act tax. The GEO bond is like taking out a loan, a construction loan to build a home or a mortgage to buy a home. So that's for the major project. And we pay that back over time. The Capital Improvement Act tax, or SB9, which is easier for me to say clearly, is a fixed tax rate. And so I know all of us probably, if we do any budgeting at all, we know that our utilities are going to cost a certain amount a month. I know that I have the luck that our heater went out right before Christmas. We know that to expect some of those types of expenses. That's the difference between the general obligation bond and the capital improvement. As I said, I did some research last night and I'm not even sure the first year that the SB9 was passed in Clovis, but this is widely supported across the entire state and communities all over the state, just to help with that recurring, preventative, proactive maintenance and ongoing expenses. The other important thing to keep in mind is that the Capital Improvement Act tax is not an increase in taxes. That question did not reflect an increase. It was simply a reauthorization, a continuation of a tax that is already in place. And so for more specific examples, the things that we could cover, and you'll see this pie graph that Brandon has put up as well, so that you can see those expenditures from 2020 to the present. So things like heating and cooling systems, roof, plumbing and electrical repairs, ADA accessibility. Mr. Brady has mentioned to us a couple of times that those buildings at the high school were placed into existence before we had ADA requirements. And so these funds can be used to bring those buildings current with ADA requirements. Technology infrastructure, you'll hear in a little bit from Mr. Wimbish about what's going on with technology, specific to classroom experiences, but also specific to safety and security. These funds are used to help replace aging furniture and equipment. And I think most importantly, these funds are directed towards preventive maintenance. Mr. Brady talked with us recently about Clovis being rated second in the state for our preventive maintenance program. That's how we've been able to have buildings that are still usable, that are the age that they are at the age. So basically preventing the small problems prevents huge problems down the road. So that's what these funds are directed towards. So our current authorization, I think 2021 was whenever we approved that. And so it is in existence through 2026 with some of those funds coming to the district through about October of 2027. So if we do not successfully reauthorize that prior to its expiration, we're going to find ourselves with a gap in maintenance funding, which is, and you'll hear from RBC, our RBC representative in a minute. She's going to give you an update, but we spent around $1.4 to $2 million per year on this preventive maintenance, on systems repairs and replacements and so forth. Due to a recent change in New Mexico election law, we are now limited to specific windows of time where we can go to the voters for capital related levies. Because of that, if we wait until the next routine cycle, we may miss that window of opportunity to be able to go back to the voters and ask for approval of that reauthorization. And so we're not rushing because, oh gosh, this didn't work earlier this month, so let's go right back out and ask. It's because that is the window that exists for us to go back to the voters in an effort to prevent having a gap down the road. And we want to avoid directly impacting our building safety and functionality. So if we do have that gap, what could that mean? We could lose that $1.5 to $2 million per year for that maintenance. And I think Mr. Brady, you quoted a $6 per square foot for heating and cooling. We also know that if you let things deteriorate, ultimately you probably have a higher investment when you're addressing those issues. There's really no way to avoid the fact that at some point there's the potential for it to impact the classroom, whether that is through temperature changes, through equipment that has broken down. We had that experience earlier this year at James Bickley, where it was it the heat? It was the cooling, and it was so hot in the second floor. We had to actually call school, but we had to rely on these type funds to address that issue at that campus. And so these capital improvement funds affect every single campus. So we don't want to risk paying more later. I also want to very delicately address a misinformation or a flawed statement that was made last week at a Curry County Commission meeting. Commissioner stated that the wrong tax was passed and implied that the district hadn't done enough to inform voters and that the district didn't give true information. That was very difficult for us to hear in light of the very broad and detailed campaign that we took to the voters. And so I just want to reiterate some of the places that we were at and the types of information that was shared for the 2 months leading up to that election. So Mrs. Brooks created a really comprehensive tab on our website that I believe is still there.
It's down now after the election.
Okay. You all were presented here with the 12+ minute video that involved our community members. We also had the shortened couple-minute long commercial that was created. Posters and QR codes that led people to that web page were available at every school campus. There were posters that were made in the entry foyers so that people could just click on the QR code and be led to the information. We had a very detailed social media campaign that had over 20 posts. There were a series of emails that went to families and staff. Mr. Brady and Mr. Summers participated in a number of radio interviews across several local stations. And one of the, I think, most novel things that we did, that was Mr. Summers' idea, before every movie shown at the Allen Theaters here in Clovis, there was a commercial beginning from the end of September all the way up to the election. They stopped at over 30 organizations or school sites to give those in-person presentations that were anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. So that included civic organizations, staff meetings at every campus, district offices, our city commission meeting. We were able to present information there, a variety of community groups, our homecoming events. We have the kiosks set up with the information. We were able to present at Clovis Community College, New Mexico Retired Educators, and also at our youth sports events. So I really just want to put up to the community that we did make a good faith effort to put that information, particularly because this district has not asked for a tax increase in 50 years, and we wanted that to be known to the voters, and that is indeed what the voters approved. So moving forward, we've got a really strong pathway to have those improvements at the high school. However, we've got to return to that Capital Improvement Act tax because it is so critical for the ongoing business of the district. So we're excited about working with administration at those campuses, with working with the board, and tightening those plans going into design phase. But we've got to return to the work of communicating with the voters and putting this question in front of them. So in light of that, I'd like to invite Kaylee Warnerskirch. I'm hoping that I said your name correctly, from RBC. She's going to give you a brief update on these funds and what the current situation is with valuation and so forth. And I was thinking, did someone here, Amy? We thought our county clerk was coming just to kind of be an expert on the election process, but we also will have Mr. Melendrez and Mr. Brady will talk to you about the resolution that we're bringing forward. But first, I want to give the floor to.
Yes, thank you for that introduction, Superintendent. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Keely Weimerskirch. I'm here on behalf of Eric Harrigan, who couldn't make it tonight. Again, I'm here because in front of you is a special election resolution that the superintendent had talked about, but I just have a brief update for you guys. So on the first slide here, we have the district's history of assessed valuation. We have received preliminary tax year 2025 values, and we can see that the district's assessed valuation increased by 3.9%. Now looking closer, we can see that your residential values only increased by about 0.46%. You know, historically, you've seen much stronger residential values. We think the drop in growth is due to those veteran exemption impacts that were passed last November by voters. At the moment, we'll see if this is the extent of that impact, or if we'll continue to kind of see the impact of those new veteran exemptions, you know, over the next couple of years. You know, additionally, too, we can see that the district's non-residential values also increased by 10.6%. So that overall, your 5-year average growth rate is currently sitting at 4.7%, and then your 10-year average growth rate is now sitting at 3.8%. Now, moving on to your tax rate history. The district has an operational mill levy in place for 50 cents. You guys also have your 2 mill levy still in place. That 2 mill levy was last renewed at a special election back in 2021, as the superintendent has mentioned, and is good through tax year 2026. Again, we're meeting tonight to discuss reauthorizing that SB 9 2 mill levy rate. Overall, your debt service tax rate was set at $4.97 again for tax year 2025, so that your total residential tax rate for tax year 2025 was $7.47 again. Now on the last slide, and my last slide of my very brief presentation, these are just the projected SB9 collections off of that $2 tax rate. And so this is based off of, your current assessed valuation with a growth rate of 1 to 2% year over year, along with a collection rate of 96%. So in total, we would expect that the district would generate about $2 million to $2.1 million off of that SB9 tax rate year over year. That really does conclude the brief presentation that I had tonight. I will hand it off to Art Melendres to see if he wants to add any color or commentary about the special resolution that's in front of you tonight.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members, superintendent. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate in this presentation and meeting. I just have to say the superintendent has explained all of what she and the district have done, and it is just a super effort. I'm very happy to hear all that. And she specifically referenced the window of time that we have for calling a special election, and it is an all-mail ballot election. And the window of time is to have this election on February 12th, which is a number of days past the November 4th election required by law. We are moving into this request because we certainly have confidence in the ability of the district to explain the importance of the 2 mil levy and the board supporting this effort. And what you have before you is a resolution. It essentially says we, the board, are going to call upon the citizens to vote on a continuation of a tax levy of $2 for every $1,000 of assessed value. We call it the 2 mil levy or the SB9 levy. The election will be held on February 12th. That's when the mail ballots will go out, and the citizens will be able to vote not in person, but by just signing their ballot and putting it back in the mail. It will have a return envelope and a stamp. And this is in accordance with the special election law. And with that, I will stand for any questions and turn it back to the superintendent and Mr. Brady.
Is there any questions from the board? Mr. Art?
Just a comment that it doesn't really make sense to me that they passed our voters who have always been so supportive of our kids, one and not the other. And so we talked about maybe it really was the fact that it was on the back, because not every where I voted, I didn't hear them saying, oh, and remember there's stuff on the back. It just occurs to me that it seems unlikely that they approved one and not the other. And so I think it's interesting. I guess it's not really a question, but more of a comment that
We did look at that, Mrs. Osborne, and the way that the clerk reports out the results, they can report if there's undercounting. And my understanding of that is if there's a question that wasn't answered on a particular person's ballot. And so we do believe that that explains some of the gap, but probably not all of it. There were several tax related questions.
Yes.
And, I think it's really incumbent upon us to provide that clarity. And when you look at the question and the phrase capital improvements is in the question, and it's easier, as I said, for myself and others to call it SB9 2 mil levy. I think that there can be some confusion. I think one of the other things that is not clear and that perhaps the county commissioner didn't realize is that we don't create the language of how the question is worded. It's my understanding that that is dictated by statute and, it's provided to us by Art. And so we don't get crafty with that language in an effort to deceive the voters. We present it just like every other district who has the same type of question. The wording is the same. So I think that there is opportunity for confusion, especially in a year when there are several tax related questions.
I did read in the paper, every single question for districts was the same, you know, when that goes.
Yes.
So it is confusing. Thank you.
So, to bring this to the last item, for consideration, we are asking the board at this time to approve the resolution calling for a special election for the, Capital Improvement Act tax / SB9 funds. I want to make sure that I reiterate some stuff. It is, you're not walking in and voting. It's a mail-in ballot. You drop it in the mailbox. The time on the resolution that we have in your packet differs from what we're voting on tonight. We had listed a different date, but the 12th is when we are going to be holding the election, and that is amended in the document. Again, it's a continuation. This is not a new thing for our taxpayers here in Clovis. It only affects the citizens of Clovis, and so we want to make sure that we're accurate in that. The cost, we're anticipating the cost for this special election to be right at $100,000. And so that's all on the district's expense because we're the ones calling for the election. And so the final thing that I would say before I ask you to consider the resolution is that at some point and at some level, if we do not pass this continuation tax, this levy, this will have an impact on kids. I can't predict what that's going to look like. I can't really talk about all the specifics of what we will do, but we will have to go to a budget cycle where we'll have to consider how we're going to continue to repair and maintain. And when I say maintain, not just buildings, but also all the technology that we're putting in front of our kids have to be priced that will have to come out of our SCG funds so that we can continue to do the work that we do every day. So with that, I stand for any questions.
Are there any questions from the board?
No.
Before I make a motion, I want to, first of all, thank all the students for staying with us and listening. But I want to bring up to everybody's attention, we had 4,283 ballots cast. We had 25,374 eligible voters. That's 16% came out and voted. We hear it all the time where we want change, want to make a difference. But the numbers don't lie. You know, whether you vote for it or against it, to me, you know, of course, in this case, we want it to pass for our kids. But 16.8%, 4,283 ballots were cast out of 25,374. Let that sink in for a minute. You know, we have to, get out there and vote. We want to make a difference. So with that being said, I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Edbert, a second by Mr. Hamilton. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. President Cordova?
Yes.
Vice President Hamilton?
Yes.
Secretary Martin?
Yes.
Member Osborne?
Yes.
Member Egbert?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Mr. Brady.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for staying.
Thank you. Now at this time, all the students, thank you for your time.
Congratulations.
Yes. I think we're ready.
Thank you.
Again, have a great rest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Okay, I think we're ready to proceed here. Let's see. Lost my, oh, Miss Nagareel, there you are.
Yes.
She's a
Good evening.
Superintendent Russ, this evening I would like to share some information with you about the recently released ESSA accountability model, school designations. Again, this year, all of our students have been identified as either traditional or spotlight schools for the 24-25 school year. I do want to take just a minute to remind you of a few of the things about how those schools are scored and how those scores are calculated, since it's been probably a year since I stood up before you and gave you a little bit of a lesson about that. Every school has a total of 100 possible points that could be earned in various indicators. These include academic proficiency, growth, progress of our English learners, attendance, graduation rate, college and career readiness opportunities for students. And once every school has been assigned a point total between 0 and 100 based on those indicators, the state then puts them in order by point total to see how schools compare to one another across the state. The highest 25% of the schools across the state in those point totals are identified as spotlight schools. We did have 3 schools again this year identified as spotlight. That's Berry, Mesa, and Zia Elementaries. Our remaining schools are all identified as traditional, which means that they fall between spotlight schools and then any of the other designation categories. And so that's a celebration. You do have this table in your packet. This details the overall scores for each of our schools, includes their proficiency rates, their growth rates. All of this information is available to the public on the NM Vista site. But I would like to share just a few things that came out from the state about schools in a in a variety of areas. But primarily we had several schools that qualified as having the highest growth in their proficiency rates in the last year. Starting with Sandia Elementary, Sandia increased their literacy proficiency rate by 18.4% and their math proficiency rate by 8.5%. They saw nearly a 6-point bump in their overall VISTA score. Parkview Elementary increased their literacy proficiency rate by 13.7%, their math proficiency rate by 16.8%. They saw a 10-point gain in their overall VISTA score. Marshall 6th Grade Academy increased their math proficiency rate by 6.9%, and they saw a 6-point gain in their overall VISTA score. Yucca Middle School increased their math proficiency rate by 5.8%. And we are joined tonight by the principal, Annetta Hadley, as well as a few of her staff members. And so I do just want to congratulate you and your team on impressive gains, especially in math this year. So just a quick going back to this team and the work that they did. Clovis High School also increased their literacy proficiency rate by 6.6%, increased their math proficiency rate by 4%. Mrs. Summers, the high school principal, was here with us this evening. Okay. One thing that I do think is worth noting is that across the state of New Mexico, it is pretty standard that our high school scores tend to be lower in proficiency rate than grades 3 through 8. Our high school students are taking a college entrance exam for they're taking the SAT for their high stakes exam. That college entrance exam is a much more rigorous assessment than our other students who are being tested over Common Core standards. And so, great job by our Clovis High School team as well. So, hopefully, in addition to those impressive gains in growth, we had really great performance by our English learners. All of the subgroups of students that are English learners outpaced the state, with the exception of one student group. And the progress of our English learners that are in our dual language program at La Casita and at Marshall Sixth Grade Academy far outpaced both the district and the state in the progress that those students are making in language proficiency. And so I want to congratulate those two sites as well. So our principals have had this raw performance data and proficiency data for several months. They've used it in the development of their 90-day plans. They've used it to prepare for teacher professional development, to prepare for student interventions. The release of VISTA scores and designations were only recently made available. And so that information was shared with them just last week. But the information that's contained in all of those reports has been really the basis of their decision-making since the beginning of the year. Just as an example of how some of our school leaders use this raw performance data in data analysis, we have several sites that are kind of walking their teachers through some data triangulation activities. They're comparing multiple data points for a single student so that they can determine what mastery they can expect to see from students, as well as analyzing the validity of selected data points, such as how do classroom grades compare to our district common assessments, and how does that compare to proficiency on state exams. These are the conversations that are driving strategic planning at the district level and driving 90-day planning at the site level. As kind of a side note to this, we are really excited to be making plans to host Paul Bemrick Santoyo in January as part of our professional development offering for our administrators and teachers. We're going to learn more about weekly planning meeting protocols and how we really are intentional about planning for high quality instruction in all areas. We know that tier 1 instruction is really what lies, what lays the foundation of growth in proficiency, and it reduces the need for intervention further down the line. And so those are just a couple of the things that have come a lot from our strategic planning conversations at the district level. So wanted to show you just how some of those things dovetail together. Tried to make it a little less technical than last year, because there were a whole lot of statistical figuring last year that was tricky to follow. But if you have any questions about this year's designations or performance, I'm happy to stand for any questions you might have.
It looked like to me, there was a couple of our schools that were real close to spotlight too, wasn't there? Like,
honestly, because that requires every school in the state to be ranked, and then they take the top 25%. It's not necessarily top 25% of performance. It's hard to know without seeing the list of the entire state. I couldn't tell you how close they were at that top.
That makes sense.
We had some incredible bigs.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Comments?
No comments. Awesome. Like that's
Great job.
Yeah.
remarkable.
Thank you.
Our principals have been very intentional about the work that they're doing. And so I'm grateful for those that joined us tonight so that we had the opportunity to recognize you, but for all of our principals across the board.
I'm excited to hear the emphasis on tier 1 because it really is so awesome. Great.
Next, I'd like to ask Debbie Westbrook to the podium. She's going to provide an update on chronic absenteeism and our new attendance grant, followed by Laura Adkins to address family engagement.
President Board, the members of the board, Superintendent Russ, the good news continues. So, as you know, I come up periodically to talk about chronic absenteeism, but today I am so glad to introduce our amazing attendance team. And so we have Marina Asbury, she's our attendance lead. We have Haley Mias, we have Miss Ledesma, Mr. McDowell. And the reason I brought them up tonight is because I wanted to take time to recognize them. Because them, along with Mr. Summers, Kevin Summers, some of our staff from technology, including Bonnie Sink and Elizabeth Gonzalez, thank you. And all the way down to attendants, administrative assistants, the buildings, and Clarissa Quintana. It was a huge collaborative effort, but everybody jumped in and they really helped us make sure and ensure that we were reporting the most accurate data for our 40-day.
And so I am so excited to announce that last year, the 24-25 school year, at 40-day, we were sitting at 21%. And for the 25-26 school year, 40-day, we are sitting at 16.8 chronic absenteeism.
Wow.
And so somebody said, we haven't seen that since 2020. We haven't seen teen numbers like that since then as well. So we are on track for a good year. But I really wanted to recognize this team, recognize all of their efforts that they do every day to combat absences and to decrease chronic absenteeism. So that's why I brought them up with me. One of the other things I'd like to bring up today is we also were awarded an attendance improvement grant. We applied and we were awarded $100,000 as a district. And so for the first year in that attendance improvement grant, we are going to implement several initiatives. So we have at this time secured a long-term sub that will in the next 2 years become a permanent position for those 2 years to help at the elementary level. And so that person in that role is to establish that capacity beyond the grant. So to ensure that all of our universal supports are in place and interventions. The other thing that we have done with that money so far is we purchased and focus social emotional learning curriculum for all of the elementary schools, so that teachers have a resource at hand to help address or support any social emotional needs in their classrooms. The additional funds we will also be using to continue, we've already initiated a district-wide campaign for attendance. So you'll be seeing social media posts, messages on marquees. And so it is a 3-year grant, but those are all the things that we're going to be doing for year 1. And any of us stand for any questions.
Questions or comments from the board?
You guys are doing a great job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay.
Mr. President, I want to add, the work that they do is very personal and connects with families, but as a district, the work that we've been doing to engage kids, it's been a very concentrated effort at every campus that makes a difference. And when you hear about the youth programs that Jay's team will talk about, when we talk about the RCA strategies that we have put in place, that effort to get kids to want to be at school and to feel connected to something really drives that data improvement as well. So I want to extend that credit to our campuses and leaders and programs as well.
Good evening, President of the Board, board members, and Superintendent Russ. I am presenting just an informational item that meets some of the ESSA requirements for Title I, and that is our district family and engagement policy. Our district family engagement policy is built in alignment with all of the ESSA requirements for Title I and is designed to strengthen the partnerships among families, schools, and the broader community to support student achievement. The policy is jointly developed with family Title I students and reviewed each year to ensure that it stays responsive and accessible. On November 6th, the district held its district parent advisory meeting, which included 50 parents representing all 12 Title I schools, as well as parents of students with disabilities and English learners. During this meeting, families reviewed the district policy and contributed to developing each individual school's family engagement policy. The school's policies will be posted on their school website if you want to review those individually. The district continues to coordinate engagement efforts as we collaborate with other federally funded programs. For example, Head Start, Migrant and Homeless Supports, and English Learner Services. This ensures that families receive seamless support from one entity to the other. We also work to build capacity by providing families with academic information, home learning resources, and accessible communication in multiple languages and formats. Parents are encouraged to participate in decision-making, advisory groups, and school improvement processes, and the district responds promptly to parent requests. Each year, parents and schools officials evaluate our engagement efforts to identify needs, barriers, and improvements to our family engagement policy. As required, at least 1% of our district's Title I allocation is set aside for family engagement, with 90% of the 1% to directly go to the Title I schools. Families help guide the use of these funds, and each school also holds its annual Title I meeting and reviews its school parent compact with their family. Finally, the district and school events are scheduled throughout the year to promote meaningful two-way communication following the Karen Mayer School Capacity Framework. We appreciate the partnership of our families, as well as continue to build strong, supportive connections that help our families thrive. And that is just a brief introduction of our district family engagement policy, and I stand for any questions.
Any questions?
No
Comments?
questions.
No, sir.
Like a good plan.
Thank you, the very good plan.
Thank you. All right, we'll move down to Mr. Strickland. Employee service matters.
President Cordova, members of the board, I have quite a few policies and regulations and exhibits to present to you tonight. This is a reminder, the regulations and exhibits won't be for consideration next month, but the policies all will. So I'm going to start with, there was a change in some definitions on alcohol and nicotine that made all of these change. So A0750, just want to point out a couple of things. It started out as a very small policy, and there's quite a bit of addition, defining where electronic delivery devices. A lot of this came up because of the rise in vapes and the vapes being able to dispense lots of different kinds of things besides just tobacco. But it gives a definition that we've already been using, but it puts it in policy that it's our school grounds, buildings, parking lots, playing fields, school buses, district vehicles, and off-campus school-sponsored events. In addition, the consequences for students go basically to the discipline matrix. The discipline for employees that are in violation of the policy go to our regular progressive discipline. Both of those also include offering support if there are drug or alcohol inducing issues. And then visitors are going to be given an oral opportunity to comply. And if they don't, then they're going to be asked to leave the school premises. And so I stand for any questions on that policy.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yes, sir. And then the next one is regulation A0761. This just reiterates again that we're going to post this information to our entrances of our buildings and athletic facilities, which we've been doing for years, and then making the public aware that they have to comply with that as well. Do you have any questions on that one?
I think we're good.
Okay. E2011. This is a student transportation regulation. And in the middle, it does add tobacco is not allowed on the school bus, or it takes that phrase out and it changes it to commercial tobacco, nicotine products, electronic tobacco, or nicotine delivery devices, alcoholic beverages, mood altering substances, and illicit drugs are prohibited in a school bus. It's pretty straightforward. The other changes are really the consequences. And so toward the end of that document, first consequence for breaking this is a warning. Second, 3 days of suspension for the bus. Third, 5-day suspension, and then fourth, suspension for the remainder of the school year. Any questions about that? A lot of pages, but very few little changes from this point on. G08811, staff conduct with students. This is a very small change. Just adding the word by tobacco, adding the word nicotine. Couple of places, and the rest of the document stays the same. G1100, this is just a strike through because what was in this policy is now included in the policy that I presented at the beginning. So ask you to remove that. G9400, the retiree return to work. The basic nugget of this is that retirees, if they choose to come back to work, are responsible for maintaining the appropriate paperwork with the state. If they fail to do that, it can affect the retirement benefits, so it really behooves them to take care of that. But it's just making sure that there's other consequences. It could be requiring them to pay back pension payments and be ineligible to receive until they get any compliance with it. This next one, we've been operating off this, but it hasn't been in our policy. This is adding an exhibit. It is a school volunteer pledge, and it goes over what the expectations are if you choose to be a volunteer in our district. So stand for any questions on that one. Okay. Sure. J2300, student conduct. Again, adding the word nicotine, and I believe that is it. That one. J3000, just removing the entire policy because it is covered in the policy or that we're going to ask you to put in next month. Regulation J4611. This is adding the statement for student discipline that harassment, bullying, or cyberbullying is a prohibited activity, and also possessing tobacco or nicotine is a prohibited activity. With the back of it, there is one piece in there using electronic communication directed at a student that is published with the intent that it be seen by or disclosed to the student and that substantially interferes with the student's ability to participate or benefit from the services, activities, or privileges provided by the public school. This is just addressing the rise in recent years of cyberbullying between students that often comes to light on the campus. The permissible penalties also, they added in parent-student disciplinary conference, directed reflective activities, and anger management training as possible consequences. So stand for any questions on that one. And I apologize, this was quite a lot of policy to come at one time. J5350, administering medicines to students. All this one adds is the new drug, alcohol, and tobacco nicotine-free schools legal reference. And with that, I answer any questions on the policies.
Any questions from the board?
Pretty straightforward.
The policy section will be coming back. Next, I have the open positions report, and I'm really excited about the number. It's 51. I did sign off, Andy, on 4 or 5 additional positions this week to recommend candidates. That brings us to around a 4% open rate, which is pretty remarkable. We have, I haven't seen those numbers, so I'm really proud of the work that Mandy does in recruiting and that Mandy and Brandon do on making sure that people are enjoying their time while they're here working. Those retention activities really matter. So, and for any questions on those 2 reports.
Any other questions or comments?
Nothing but good news tonight. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strickland.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Heather.
You have to keep up the good news.
No bad.
Good evening, President Cordova, members of the board, Superintendent Russ. The first item I have is a request to consider removing the district's cell phones or making use as trade-ins for the purchase of new district cell phones. Please stand for any questions.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a,
motion to approve.
sorry. Good
I
job.
I have a motion by Ms. Edberg, second by Mr. Hamilton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay.
We should have $1 petty cash request from the student nutrition department to use for change at the Christmas lights parade. Treat ourselves. Stand for any questions.
If there aren't any questions, I'll entertain the motion.
Parade's around the corner, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I move to approve the petty cash request.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Osborne, a second by Mr. Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Third item is the membership projections report. This is used to determine the preliminary state funding for programs, growth units, and new program units. These projections are critical for calculating our district's budget and are based on anticipated student enrollment for the next fiscal year. These projections that I'm providing were based off of the 40-day reporting period. I stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Are we following along with the 200 less every year? Does that seem to be the trend?
When I looked at the 40-day to 40-day, it looked like about a 46 count difference from last year.
Oh, that's
However,
good.
when you look at 40-80 to 120, we often see a drop at the 120, so we need to watch and wait, but I was glad to see
I'm glad to see
the
that.
46 once I figured out the chart again. We don't interact on that chart a lot, but
Right. That's good
So the
news,
initial was good news.
right?
I feel like it is in
Yeah.
light of what we've learned from the demographer. And however, again, I reference Mr. Brady because we've had a lot of conversations about this stuff, and he's mentioned to us, and as we went around with the campaign, talked about the fact that we should reach a plateau at some point.
Mhm.
And
So
so
maybe
that
we're
would be,
close.
that would be great if we would get there sooner
Mhm.
rather than later.
That is the projection in the next few years, we should plateau and stay there unless something dramatic happens.
That's good.
The last item I have is the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards, and the National Board for Certification of School Nurses. The NBPTS applies to all of our licensed employees, not just the teachers, who have an active certification. And the NBCSN, which is new this year for our nurses, applies to license level 2 and 3 registered school nurses with the active certification on or before our 40-day reporting date. This information is used to set the current year's final unit value and enable the February SEG adjustment. We currently have 5 employees who have the National Board for Professional Certification and 2 nurses that have the National Board for Certification of School Nurses. Next, stand for any questions.
Questions or comments from the board?
I have, thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Mr. Brady.
Nothing but good stuff.
That's it.
Mr. Cordova, members of the board, Superintendent Russ. You guys have gone with us on this journey about what do we do to provide extra for kids. And so youth athletics, a focus on middle school, high school, what are we doing to get bigger, stronger, faster? And the programming that it takes to put our kids in a place to achieve and perform at high levels. And so tonight, what we want to do is give you an idea of what the return on investment is. It's been substantial, but you really can only measure in the number of kids that are out. And then you saw a glimpse of what I hope is many more district championships leading to state playoff runs with our programs. So with that, I'll turn it over to Coach Williams, our athletic director.
Thank you, Board President Cordova, Superintendent Russ, members of the board. We definitely appreciate the opportunity to get up here and give you guys a report, a positive report. We can have our 2 athletic coordinators for these 2 I really appreciate these two coordinators, Liz Ledesma over at Yucca and, Jose Posada at, Gaddis. You know, they're really being intentional about, changing the culture and, you know, they're asking kids to do what they've never done before. And so, we definitely appreciate their actions. We appreciate everything that they do for our kids every day. So, we're gonna give you a brief overview of what's been going on, the positive report coming from the athletic department.
Good evening, President Cordova, members of the board, and Superintendent Mrs. Russ. Appreciate you guys for the opportunity. So I'll start with the general overview of our K-5 youth programs. The first season we started off the school year with basketball. And before I get there, I just wanted to talk about some of the changes we made this year. Restructuring the sports. Last year, we kind of did them in the season of the high school sports, but ideally, I want our basketball players coaching kids during basketball and volleyball and so on and so on. So by us doing that, we changed the structure with making it outside of those sports seasons so that those kids are available and those coaches are available without having to worry about being in the duration of their season. So we started off the school year with basketball. That was first grade, we had K through 1 had 280 kids participating in that. Second and third grade, we had 250 kids participating in that. And fourth and fifth grade, we had 218, which was a total of 748 kids participating. With some of the new structures we made to the seasons, we prioritized more on focusing on skill development and the fundamentals more so than structural play. Because in a 2-week period, there's no way a kid that's never played basketball and volleyball is gonna learn how to play in 2 weeks. So instead, we changed it. And, I did 5 weeks of skill development, and then the last 2 weeks we did games, and it seemed to work a lot better that way with attendance and kids not feeling discouraged. Obviously, I want to have this program for everybody, whether you've been playing for years or you're first starting out. I want everybody to feel welcome to come. So that's kind of how we restructured that. And depending on some of the skill levels, we kind of had like a more advanced session for those kids that already know how to play so that we can still loop them in as well. With that basketball season, we were staffed with Coach Corey Pickett, who's here, and his staff, and then our varsity basketball players and our low-level players, which I think is really important because, for one, it gives those kids some type of ownership in the community and paying it back forward, because at some point, they were once those kids that were looking up to the high school kids. And I think it gives them a different sense of what it's like to be a coach, because I think they take it for granted. And they'll come to us like, oh, they're not following instructions. We're like, how do you make me feel when you call a timeout? You drew up a play and you have no idea what we just told you. So I think it opened their eyes to a lot of stuff for that. But I think it was, like I said, basketball is a great one. Then right now we're currently in volleyball. This weekend we'll be going into our 6th week, so we'll start games this weekend with our volleyball girls. So the numbers for that is K1 was 205 kids in that. Second and third grade was 162, and then fourth and fifth grade was 250. So we have 617 kids total right now playing volleyball. I will say it's a night and day difference with the girls working and the boys. The boys tend to remind me why I don't have kids right now. But like I said, it's great. I enjoy it. I've gotten a lot of feedback from the community as far as people that probably are lower income families, and just the importance of it is that we were offering something for free, and that they wouldn't be able to pay for these things with their financial situations if we weren't offering it. So it gives us a sense of purpose, and it just lets me know that we as a community and the school district, we're doing the right thing. Like I said, those kids wouldn't have those opportunities without us. So I just want to thank you guys for the support that you guys have been giving me nonstop, and the people that work day in and day out with us. We got Miss Calhoun here, who she's worked every single sport, no matter what. She shows up. She's always willing to help, and it's people like her that that are keeping this thing going, because at some point we gotta own it, you know what I mean? So I'm thankful for her. I'm glad she's here today. And then moving into that, just like I said, the importance of this program. Obviously all these kids aren't gonna go on to be college athletes. Like I tell you, we talk about it all the time, but it gives them a sense of purpose. It gives them a sense of unity, and I think it's creating that culture that we once had that we need to get back to, of just togetherness, and no matter what your financial background is, or if you're good or bad at the sport or whatever, like there's always a place for you in our district. And I think that's more important than anything. And that ties into the retention of kids, which later on leads into them graduating and getting across the finish line. I think if it wasn't for this program, there are some kids that we probably would have got lost, that they have a sense of purpose and unity, and they know like there's someone there that believes in them, that we're there for them. Moving into the new structure of we also did offer, Coach, I'm glad you're here, Mr. Cordova. We had a dance clinic with our Wild Cadets that had over 100 attendees. That was free of charge, and they concluded after the clinic, they performed at our basketball games. So those kids got that opportunity as well. So I wanted to make sure I made light of that. And then lastly, we opened up indoor soccer, which is a new addition this year. And we opened it up midday yesterday, and I was pleased to be informed by Miss Sarah that we're already at 360 kids signed up in a day. So
wow, that's awesome.
Good problem to have. Moving forward from that, we'll talk about our new structure of our middle school athletics. We now have an off-season program. So what that means is usually typically when those kids get out of the sports, they kind of get out of our range, and we kind of lose track of them. And that, I think we had a retention problem as far as with the grades and the eligibility, because after they say if you play football and you don't play anything else, well, we lose track of you, and you kind of get lost in the sauce, and we don't realize until the next year that you're not, your grades aren't where they need to be. So now we have a year-round off-season program where if you're not in the sport, you're still in athletics. And those emphasis on that are obviously participation, growing numbers. Our goal is to have 2 teams for every sport. We've already expanded out on the boys' side based on their numbers for tryouts. We have 2 8th grade teams at each school and 2 7th grade teams. And ideally, I'd like to do that for every program. Obviously, that leads directly to retention, and then obviously we're focusing on culture, and then wins and losses. With that off-season program, we're focusing on bigger, faster, stronger, so 2 days a week they'll lift weights, and then the other 2 days we'll do some speed and agility work and stuff like that. And then we have a built-in study hall day, so that we can focus still on the academic portion as well. And with that being said, I'll take it over to Miss Elizabeth Ledesma, who's our Yucca athletic coordinator, and she'll kind of give you some numbers and breakdown. Yeah.
Right, so for off-season, instead of having all of our athletes participate in just football and volleyball, we gave them an option. We asked them, are you interested in playing a certain sport? They signed up. And so at the very beginning, we had a lot of boys interested in basketball, which was great. So we were able to offer them that opportunity. And for the ladies too, they were in the afternoon and the boys came in the morning. We kind of structured it different. So Gaddis, they had 27 boys and 33 girls. And for Yucca, we had 20 boys and 8 girls. So it was a really great opportunity, because if not, they would have been, not working on their skills. And so now their season is starting, they're ready to go. And here are some pictures of us in action at both the middle schools. And I think the next slide has the Yucca numbers. So when we first started the school, they told me that we didn't even have enough for a Yucca 8th grade team. So I went looking, I found 36 boys, and they really, really tried. And out of those, there were a couple that were ineligible. And out of the 12 that were ineligible, we used their lunch period to make them eligible. They would get their lunch. They were my best friends, Tuesday through Thursday, and we got 8 eligible. For seventh, we had 48 seventh grade boys come out. Huge number. I don't think I've seen that before. For our volleyball girls, that is a cut sport, and so we keep it at 13. For our volleyball girls, we were actually able to do an A and B team, and we had 11 on each of those teams. And then cross country, I have a bunch of cross country runners at Yucca, and so I had 18 boys and 17 girls, 18 eighth grade boys and 17 girls. Those should be together. But anyways, and one of those eighth grade girls was ranked 9th at state for the high school. And
Wow.
we had an eighth grade boy who ran varsity, and we have 91 kids, and he was the top 4 runner. So the middle school program has done huge things for us as cross country. This is our 6th season as with the feeder program, and we are really repeated that staff.
So for Gaddis, some of those off-season sports also included at Gaddis. We were a little more fortunate to add track. We had a lot of kids who were very interested in track. So we had a mixture of basketball and track off-season. So right now that football is done and so is volleyball, those kids who have been in track are preparing for track season at the end of Christmas. And then some of the cross country numbers, some of those kids, don't think many, but were from Gaddis that did a little more recruiting this year for Coach Ledesma to provide. So if you see, it's the same thing for us. We had 6 that were ineligible for our 8th grade. That's based off the end of year. And we did a similar thing at Gaddis. We provide every Wednesday after school study hall, and then they come in the mornings with me if they're not. So 3 out of the 6 got eligible. They got to participate on the last 3 of our games. So that was good for them, good for parents. But the biggest thing that I want to point out is our GPA. We talk about our attendance. Our chronic attendance has been very good. I spoke with Mr. Riley the other day. We went from last year to this year. Last year we were at 24%, and I believe this year we're at 17%. So a lot of that culture, it's not just our sports. I know we talked about the RCA earlier. We did have a house night today at Gaddis. So a lot of this numbers is not just the sports perspective, but also our culture at Gaddis is changing. But not just the sports side, but our teachers and administration, we're all willing to work together. But I think the biggest I want to point out is our GPA. We were very high across the board. Kids know that they need to be in class. Academics come first. And we've done something where if they have an F, they sit out half the practice and then work on their stuff, and then they get to practice the other half. So we make sure academics is our priority before they get to play.
Good stuff.
Wow.
You guys kind of make me nervous, so I kind of forgot something. But just kind of with the growing numbers that we've had, there's also been some hiccups that I kind of wanted to be transparent about. For some of the facilities, obviously we only have so many gym spaces at those middle schools, so we've had to make some adjustments as far as busing certain teams to different locations. And so on and so on, because like I said, ideally we're trying to grow and make 2 teams of everything. And with that being said, we're going to have to do some things that we haven't had to do. And I think I just want to be transparent with that part as far as we are having to kind of maybe structure, and some teams are having to practice after school, and some teams are having to get bused other places. But I think it's a good problem to have, because it means we got more kids involved. I don't know if you guys, I stand for any questions. Is that one?
Sounds great.
Thank y'all. Good thing about working with these guys, I don't have to talk a lot, so it's perfect. So the next portion will be our fall sports, participation numbers, focus areas, and also I'll talk about, matter of fact, I'll talk about strength and conditioning right now before we jump into the PowerPoint. So we've added a full-time strength and conditioning coach within our school. So he's the actual teacher, and our athletes, which we will have probably close to 100% next semester in those weight classes. So of course, our goal is to make sure that we get our kids bigger, faster, stronger, and also increase the agility and flexibility of our kids. And so when we go places, we look at kids and we're like, dang man, they're big, or they look in shape. So we want our kids to look better, throughout the district and throughout the state. So, I think that is very intentional, that we made that move to hire a strength and conditioning coach for all of our athletes to get stronger. So, next slide, so. Football, our participation, varsity participation was at 53. We had 53 participants. On the varsity level, as you can see, the ninth grade participation was pretty good. 40. I mean, that's probably average around this area. And so, we would think with the numbers increasing at the junior high or the middle school next year, we'll have quite a bit of freshmen come out for football next year. So I think we're in good shape on that end. Our record for varsity, we definitely improved from last year, which a winless season last year turned into a 3-7 season this year. I think Coach Hodges and his staff did a great job with the resources they have and what they have as coaches. I mean, I know they're short a couple of coaches on staff, and so, but they made it happen. And Coach Hodges and those guys over there have definitely poured into our kids and definitely changing the culture on that side of things as well too. We finished 5th in our district. We were one spot away from making it to the state playoffs. El Dorado, who finished 4th in their district, got in over us. So, that's one of those things that, our kids can build on, and they understand that, it takes a little bit more work and a little bit harder work to make sure that we're moving into the playoffs, into the postseason. And so we ended up finishing 13th in the state, behind El Dorado, who was 12th. So. Boys soccer, 51 athletes from Coach Trujillo. Our season record was 12-7. We actually finished as runner-up at the district this year. Our strength of schedule is really what we kind of we had a hard time with our strength of schedule, just only because we're out here on the eastern part of the state. It's a lot more teams to play from the metro area or the northern part of the state. So we don't want to have excuses, but I mean it is a curtain, So, but we're going to make sure that we sit down. I'll sit down with Coach Trujillo and make sure we come up with a plan in order to strengthen our schedule for next year so we can get the playoff. The elementary youth soccer program, I know Coach G had mentioned that. The boys soccer team and their head coach will make sure that they take part in that as well too, just like the boys basketball and the volleyball team does with elementary sports this year. Girls soccer, definitely improved. Actually, we were in a 3-way tie for runner-up for 2nd place in our district this year. Our defense definitely improved. So last year, 24-25 season, they gave up 68 goals, and this year they gave up half. So 38 goals this year they only allowed, which 68 last year. So that's a big improvement for our new head coach, Daniel Rojas. He was hired in mid-July. He started with 20 girls, and then he ended up with 37 to finish off the season. And they actually have a all-district select. They had 5 all-district selections from our program, girls soccer. So I think that's big. That's something to grow on. And then also 4th ranked Hobbs was in our district, and so we got more district selections than Hobbs this year. So that's a big thing. We know that's huge. So moving on to our cheer program, we also have a new program leader on the cheer program. They currently have 19 varsity cheerleaders, 14 JV cheerleaders, and then currently they have 8 freshman cheerleaders at this time. Their focus is also strength. Want to make sure that we get all of our cheerleaders in that weight training class and strength conditioning, so we can strengthen their legs and strengthen our base girls that that hold our girls up and things like that, and then also their team culture is their focus as well. Our wild cadets, currently 19 dancers, 10 of those they have JV, 10 JV dancers, and that's a new program for us. We just accepted that a couple months ago, so Coach Martinez is doing a great job with that JV group. That's the first ever JV squad that we've had for a while today. So we got something to look forward to as far as, growing our program. At Gaddis right now, we have 20 dance team members. At Yucca, we have 7. We're definitely gonna grow the dancers at Yucca. It's coming, when we're doing our clinics and, when our program leaders are visiting our middle schools, that number will definitely increase pretty soon. Our Wildcats hosted a youth clinic who had, and Coach G, and he mentioned this as well too. They had 100 attendees at the elementary youth clinic, so that was big for us. And then they organized a middle school and JV night for our middle school dancers, to perform on the varsity stage as well too. Cross country, we just recognized them. They've done great. I think Coach Desmond said we have 91 members participating in that sport. And so that's huge for us. The wins, girls placed first 6 times out of 10 meets, and then boys had 77 wins this year. Our girls team obviously was district champions, so give it up to them again for that. Congratulations on that. That's the highest in Clovis history that we finished 5th in state this year. So that's the highest that we've ever finished on the girls' side in cross country. So that was huge as well too. Our boys, they weren't a slouch either. They ended up finished 2nd in district as well too. So next year we should have the girls and the boys finish 1st in district. They should be district champs. And then the boys finished 8th at state this year as well. Volleyball, district champs, we beat Hobbs, so give it up to them. Definitely beat Hobbs this year. Was electric during that game, and Coach Hill, she does a great job with our kids. Though her assistant coaches, they do a great job as well too. And our girls are A1. And I had the opportunity to watch them this past week at state tournament. It's only gonna be up from here. I think our girls are gonna make an impact here in the next couple of years. So we'll be fine. Again, New Mexico State volleyball tournament selection and a 5-1 district record, district champs this year for volleyball. Cross country, we already did that. Yep. Okay, so our Wildcat Heroes in the community. So we basically have a community service initiative throughout our built-in program within our athletic program. And so we do in partnership with Dion's Pizza, we do an education appreciation award, which is called the Pizza Heart Award, which we give Educator of the Week award once a week, every week. We also have the Bring the Energy Award, who's sponsored by Backwoods Apparel Company here in Clovis. They give an Athlete of the Week award weekly. And also our Heroes of the Community program, which we partnership with the city of Clovis and the Hillcrest Senior Center. So we try to keep our kids busy on and off the court and on and off the field, and the track as well too. And just below the things that we've done this year, and we're not done. So again, we appreciate the community support. We appreciate the board support. My superintendent is great. We talk all the time when we're in Jenny's office, and she comes in and messes with us, but we appreciate it. We appreciate every bit of it. So at this time, any questions you have for our athletic program, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Anybody got one? How many seniors did we lose in football?
I want to say we lost. I want to say 7, maybe. No, it was 11. It was 11.
That's the
yeah,
big chunk.
Senior night. I remember senior night. We do have some our junior class is going to be strong next year, I believe. And then, like I said, that freshman class, most of our bigger kids are in that class. So
good.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Nobody?
Okay.
How's that?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it all looks positive
It does.
and promising.
And yeah, thank you to all the coaches. Make sure you let them know that we appreciate their hard work, because being married to a coach, they put in a lot of hours out there, you know, and they're all about the kids. That's, you know, of course, everybody is, but
100%.
but yes, give them a, you know, big shout out to them from us. And how's that Walkaday coach working out for you? Got anything you want me to tell her anything?
No, it better be.
And
No, it better be. No,
but
all of our coaches are great.
Yeah, thank you.
Like I mentioned before, came up here, you know, I think, our coaches are definitely intentional about what we're trying to do. So I think our kids are starting to buy in and making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do to be successful.
well, thank you.
Yep,
Thank
no,
you to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Solid.
guys.
Thank you.
You guys, thank you.
Before we transition to the next item, while Mayor Morris is here, I just want to call out the partnership with the city for our youth sports program. What we do together through that program is going to make a difference over the long haul on the experience that our kids have in this community and the product that we create with our children. And so, Mayor Morris, we really appreciate all of the variety of partnerships that we have with the city, from the SRO to this youth sports program. There's nothing but evidence tonight that those efforts are getting kids engaged and giving them somewhere to be. So
Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, I have Eric Windish, our Senior Director of Technology, to update you on lots of things that are going on in the technology world.
Good afternoon, President Cordova, members of the board, Superintendent Russ. It's a lot of information that's on here. I'm gonna try to be condensing as much as possible. The biggest thing that first area we're talking about is school security, and from adding more cameras, primarily at the high school, we're gonna add about 65 cameras, and the emphasis we're focusing on is being able to identify facial features and being able to get more information about the color of someone's jacket or shoes, things like that. One of the other added advantages to adding those cameras is being able to analyze things. And so one of the situations that came up a couple past weekends ago, we had an incident where fire was displayed. So zero alerts went off, and we kind of saw the image more or less who the suit was, couldn't really identify. But then went into our new camera system, which is called Quorum, and a lot of great features with it, the analytics behind it. And so being able to take the description of that car and put it into the system and say, tell us all these different models, makes of cars that are white that have these type of rims. And we were able to pull that up within minutes, where in the past we've had to take hours of scrubbing video and going through and trying to figure out what exactly is happening. So Quorum, of course, is going to be our new camera system that's going to allow us to identify things, to be in front of instead of being reactive to a lot of the things. So another case that we make is if there was, for instance, something going on at a school site, and one of the things that's really challenging, it's really frustrating when you're looking at the naming of the cameras, right? And so we have, school building, and inside the school building, you have a bunch of interior hallways. And so it's really hard to keep it straight a lot of times. One of the features that was added was the maps feature, which allows you to go look at the map view and directly click on those camera views without having to remember all these different camera views. We have, I talked about this before, we have over 1,300 cameras in the district. So at the district level, being able to memorize where every single camera goes, even me working on them, it's impossible for me to remember which camera goes where. And so that's just one of the areas. Single wire, this is really neat. So I had Mr. Brady had reached out to me. He's like, hey, we want to figure out a way to be able to do kind of a mass notification more than just what we're currently doing. How can we send this out to every single device we have in the district? And so I stumbled upon, this product called Single Wire. And so what it'll do is it's gonna bridge in our, classroom projectors, classroom phones. It's gonna, bridge in, intercom systems. It's gonna bridge in our, access controllers. So that's one of the items on here was, we did implement, I think it was 36 access control systems at the high school. So every door has a key card access reader readily available. And what does this mean? This means that with Single Wire, if something happens, if there's a lockdown, imagine yourself being the person that is hitting the button and then now you have to go through 5 different apps. There's all these other checklists that you're trying to go off of to figure out what's going on. What that's going to do is going to take those apps, combine it into one process to where a lot of these things are going to be automated in the back end. So when you hit the button to say we're in lockdown, it's going to automatically lock doors. It's going to automatically send out a signal or a message to whatever device you choose, desktops, laptops, phones, cell phones, the projectors themselves. So that's all going to go out simultaneously at the same time. And so we can leverage some of the things I mentioned Zero Eyes earlier. So being able to take a weapons detection and automate that process too, if we choose to. So it's just a lot of different things with this particular product that we can do. It's not all just about that, right? And so there's other ways that you can use this to do good things, right? And so one of the things we talked about, so going back into the classroom, you can present, district wide or, school wide. You can say, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday, or hey, congratulations to teachers. So it's not just for the emergency things, but there's shout outs and things that you can do. Moving on to the next thing, we're talking about the information, and one of the projects that has been around for a long time that they've talked about was at the state level was bringing in a state student information system. And so it's finally gone through. They've been talking about it for years and years. It's finally gone through. The company's called Synergy. Clovis had requested to be a part of cohort 1. That process is going to roll out through the end of this school year and roll over into the next school year. So projected that in summer of this next school year, we'll be rolling over to the new system. What does that mean? It means that it's going to affect a lot of the different things that we're currently doing. So teachers in gradebook, being able to go in and put in attendance, being able to manage assignments from the aspect of assigning the actual assignment from the student information system. It's going to have around, I think it's 4 different modules. That'll be easy. They're basically apps that, depending on who you are, so if you're a teacher, you would go into the teacher access. If you were a parent, you would go into the parent access. If you were the student itself, you would go into there. And so depending on where you're at in that approach, and you may have more than one app, because you obviously be a parent and then be a teacher too, right? So those are some of the things that what that would bring to light. I want to pause there because I want to know if anyone has any questions, because I know I'm going super fast and just for the sake of all the information.
Any questions from anybody?
Not so
No.
far.
Sounds awesome.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it and everything that we're doing, because it's really nice to be able to see a lot of these things come together, right? It's always in one of the bullet items in here, we talk about silos and how not only people but systems themselves, right? They kind of get used to, this is what I'm doing, and this is kind of what I want to do. And so we're bridging a lot of these things together and being able to get all work together is awesome. The other part is Tyler School ERP Pro. So since we are moving away from Skyward, which by the way, we implemented Skyward in 2004. And so we've had Skyward for a very long time. And of course, those modules were brought in, at various times of the year. What we're doing is we're pulling in both the student information side and the employee management and the financial side. two different systems, the student information systems, the Synergy side. The Tyler ERP Pro is the employee services, finance side. And so what does that mean for Tyler? That means that when people are putting in time off requests, or they're going in and applying for a job, when we're looking for our paychecks, things like that, those are those areas that it's going to affect. And of course, that's going to be all of our employees that's going to affect. And again, those will be parents, other people that are affiliated with the Postmaster schools. So on the bottom part, not only are we doing physical security, but we also have to layer on network security. So how do we protect things that we've implemented, right? So if we put in a door controller, how can we make sure that someone's not getting in there and opening up all the doors, just to do it, right? A lot of the times the hacks are people seeing if they can just get away with it. And so we have two different systems. One is our Cisco XDR. I always talk about from the standpoint of this is what's going on currently. So if someone's trying to do something on a network currently, maybe they're trying to do a brute force hack. And what that really means is they've taken either a list of well-known passwords or some other factor algorithm to then push that information out to try to guess what someone's username, what someone's password is, right? And so that would show us that part. The XDR system is great because we can identify. One of the things I'll point out is, in the past, when we were doing testing, right, online testing, we'd have someone, right, could be a student, could be a parent, whoever, that would intentionally bring down the network. So then you wouldn't have to test. And so being able to identify that at a much faster pace gives us the ability to shut that, quarantine that device individually, and then, do more investigation, figure out exactly where it's at, keep it off the network, things like that. A lot of times it has the other side of that where it over does what it's supposed to. And so we have those false positives. We have someone coming down, they're like, I can't get on the network anymore. And then we find out, we did it because the system told us to, right? And so that's XDR. The securing part, these are our vulnerabilities that could be an issue, right? And so there's this long list of CVEs is what they call them. And basically it tells you, I always talk about it like credit score, right? And so when you look at it, how high is your credit score is how vulnerable that device is, and how low it is it's mild. It's not really, it's a low level attack that could happen. And so we get this report in each month. And so I was really freaking out because our score went from an A to an F, and that's F is bad, right? And so I was freaking out, and I was like, what's going on? And so when we were in a meeting, they told me that they had assigned all of these issues to me, and that's why it dropped it down, because it looked like I was overwhelmed with the amount of tasks that had to be taken care of. And so they rate that as an F. So I had to go through and kind of reassign some of those things back to either other staff or back to the system, because they weren't they weren't necessarily a high issue, but it wound up looking like it was because our grade overall was an F. And so after doing that, of course, and doing some cleanup, we went to a C, and now we're back down to a B. And so I feel really good about what we're doing in both schools and protecting the network and making sure that things can work great. Printing. So we did a big overhaul just recently. We've brought in a different manufacturer. We were using Canon, we went with Sharp. And so we replaced around 115 copiers in the district within 4 days, I think it was. And so with the effort of the company, they're called New, they came out, of course, they delivered the copiers. Our team went out and helped them. That was also assisting staff with adding more copiers back onto the machine so they could print. So very, very big task. And then, of course, the last part is we're diving into the AI parts of the world and being able to implement Google their version, like ChatGPT, it's called Gemini. And so, being able to bring that in and assist with, make things a lot more efficient for staff members, right? So I always talk about, just the daily task of reading an email. Sometimes people get long-winded, right? You're like, what are the most important things that I need to know about this? And they can summarize that for you and tell you the key points. Or if you need help, creating an email, you can turn around and say, hey, can you make this sound nicer? Because, when you tell someone that you're sorry you took their copier away because of the cost, you don't want to sound like you're inconsiderate of them. So, any questions?
Any questions? It's a lot.
Yes. Hopefully I went fast enough.
Yeah, no, that's.
Was that the AI version?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for your
Thank
your
you
work.
very
Yes.
much.
Okay, so now we'll move down to the open forum. Jean, do we have a?
Yes, sir. I have one card. Constance Williams, speaking on rain tree purchase and sale.
Before you start, Ms. Williams, I'd like to just read something. Personal attacks upon board members, staff, or the persons in attendance or absent by individuals who address them or are discouraged. Presenters are cautioned that statements or representations concerning others that convey an unfavorable impression may be subject to the presental to civil action or defamation. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Cordova, board members, and Superintendent Russ. I appreciate y'all's time today. I just wanted to come and talk with a couple, or talk for a moment about my concern and how I would like to ask y'all if y'all could address and put the purchase of Braintree onto the agenda. As far as my knowledge as a local citizen, this was brought up most recently in December of 2024 when they had opened up the bidding process for Braintree and basically initiated it at $3.3 million for that purchase. I don't know if any bids were accepted on that, but I did make a post with regards to this on social media. You can go look at that. There were some different comments on there, but long story short, I thought that this had recently occurred. And it comes to be, just after a little bit of basic research on Googling, with public documents, that this occurred in 2021. And so as a local citizen, just to give a little bit of background, Braintree was, at least from my point of view, part of a larger project that you bought the building and they built the apartments over there. Ultimately, the building, the Braintree Grocery folded probably within its first year and was essentially empty for the longest up until this point. So I thought driving past there all the time, like, man, that must be a big hole for somebody, whoever purchased that, whoever made that investment must be holding on to a losing investment because it's been empty. They don't have any income coming in. Well, then come to find out the Clovis Municipal Schools bought that in the hopes to move the Clovis Municipal School districts to that location. On the front end of it, I thought it was odd just because, like I said, this is a central location, and I thought it would be hard for a lot of people to make it out there. Upon further looking at this, because the initial estimates are $3.1 million what the property was worth, but somehow Clovis Municipal Schools possibly bought it for $5.6 million, which seems like about $2.2 million more than the appraised value. I'm not sure if the New Mexico Board of Finance approved that, but as a citizen, I think, man, that's a huge cost for the citizens of Clovis as taxpayers to be holding on to a empty building that they paid more than the market value, quite a few million more than the market value, and the holding costs that are attributed to that. I appreciate the effort of civic engagement and everything that has gone on over the election. I voted for all of the bond issues. I think that it's super important we have to invest in our kids, but I also think that we have to be, as citizens, aware of purchases, things that are happening. And I would just like this to be brought to the forefront on a school agenda or on an agenda to see if y'all can just make a report similar to what y'all did with the municipal information to break down the situation and just have transparency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, feel free,
Um,
please.
Ms. Williams, I want to assure you that all processes were followed with that purchase. It was a discussion that started. Those types of purchases happen over like a period of time because of that dance with all of the legal processes and so forth. And so that was initiated right at the onset of COVID and prior to having the demographic data that we referred to before. An appraisal was conducted at that time. Head company that conducted the appraisal whenever we made a decision to put that property for sale as we went through the facility master planning process, which really brought to light what was happening with demographics in this area across the state, even in the nation. And the phrase that we kept using was getting our house in order. And so other factors in that decision had to do with the age of this building in and of itself and the dollars that we pour into the maintenance of this older facility. And so the data that we had at the time that we were working from, it was presented to the board as a very viable solution to pull together our student support, technology, which was separated into 3 different locations. And so that was the intention at the beginning. All of the processes were followed, and then the bottom fell out of the world. We were operating on facility master planning that had been conducted in-house that didn't rely on information from a demographer. When we went through the process and got that information from an expert, that's when the board and the district made the decision that we've got to make some very difficult decisions and adjustments, which led to the consolidations and all of the changes that we've seen over the district in the last couple of years. As those decisions were being made and we realized that we had the student support building, the old Parkview property, the Rain Tree building, at that point, as we were making the transitions with freshman campus to the high school and so forth, what was brought to the board was, so perhaps we should liquidate and just tighten our belts here and make the most of leaks and things that we are dealing with. Watch the market, see what happens, not knowing what would happen after COVID, how are things going to rebound or not rebound. I can tell you, and this is all very, very preliminary, but district leaders are looking at potential opportunities for us to leverage that building for productive use for the district. There are a number of things under consideration. One of those being the expansion of our student nutrition services, which have been required to take on scratch cooking, which requires more training for their staff. We have, as a district, taken over summer meal provision in the community, which is a big production. It's been very difficult for student nutrition to be occupying 3 or 4 schools while our summer maintenance crews are trying to get schools ready for the coming year. And so we're looking at some funds that are available through that program to address those needs, along with, you're probably aware that when the SNAP dollars were in jeopardy, that we took a proactive step, reached out to see if we could provide meals for families, which has led to suppers being provided. I really believe that one of the greatest services that this district provides to the community is a provision of food for advanced meals during holidays, has been going on with the government and so forth. Along with that, we have an enormous freezer that is about the size of this room, along with about 5 others. That largest one being exposed to the elements continuously out at maintenance. And so what we're looking at is how might a property that we already have be able to address those needs without erecting a separate structure. And this truly is hot off the presses idea generation that's going on right now. If you were in Rain Tree, you know that there's an entire section that was for food production. There was the little cafe. We see lots of potential opportunities for post-start culinary baking competitions, the training that's now required of our student nutrition staff, opportunities for BPA marketing for kids to get engaged in work-based learning, provide a service to the community. Along with that, something else that we were really hopeful for as we moved out of COVID was that some of these extreme behaviors that we're seeing with some of our students across the district, that those would settle down a little bit. But what we're finding is that we're still having kids who are struggling socially and interacting in the larger classroom settings, showing us that we still have a really deep need for behavioral support for some students so that they can get that targeted behavioral support to be more successful, or to provide that alternative setting for them, as we've seen in ICANN and iAcademy. And so before we go full on into the design with finalizing what's happening at freshman campus, that was to include our training center along with where ICANN and iAcademy have expanded and were relocated. We want to make sure that now, while we're at the planning phase, that if we need to provide more opportunities for students with those type needs, that we utilize that space, which also shows that Raintree could possibly encompass our training facility that was going to go into freshman campus. If you see stunned looks on the faces of our board members, it's because we truly are just putting ideas together, because we share the same concern that you do with how the market changed, and that responsibility to our taxpayers and to be good stewards of all of our resources. And so we're very much in the planning phase right now. It's too soon to come to the board. We really do need to see what happens with this capital improvement tax question as we go back to the voters, because all of those things together can help us get our house fully in order and be those good stewards of all of these resources. So I hope that that helps a little bit to help you understand what's going on behind the scenes, and that we're not just turning a blind eye to that investment, but we're looking comprehensively at the needs of the district and where we're at right now and what we need to do to bring information to the board so that they can make those decisions moving forward. So thank you so much for your question.
Okay. And also just thank you for coming in and talking to the board. A lot of times people don't, they don't reach out to us. And it's better to come to the meetings, say what's on your mind, so that you know what the truth is. A lot of times you get on social media and a lot of people are just throwing things out there, and a lot of them aren't true. So thank you for coming and giving us the opportunity to answer your question. If we can't answer at the time, then there's 5 of us. You can reach out. You know me. You can reach out to me anytime, and we can answer your questions or lead you in a direction.
I really appreciate it. Like I said, I think that y'all are awesome people, and we're doing this for our children, and so thank you very much.
Thank you. And we got to go to announcements. Mr. Russ.
Yes, sir. November 24th through 28th will be Thanksgiving break for our campus students, no school for students or those campus staff. District offices will be open on Monday and Tuesday of next week, and then closed Wednesday through Friday. We'll return here on December 16th for our next regular Board of Education meeting at 5:30 p.m.
And with that, if there aren't any questions, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hamilton, a second by Ms. Osborne. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Yes.